Welcome everyone. So in this session, I'll be talking about some of the basic commands in Sketcher mode that will help you to construct a geometry. So beginning with that, let's construct a new Sketcher mode. Let's go to Sketcher mode. You need to give a name to this file. I can give it something like trial 2. So now you have a lot of commands in this ribbon up above. Let's talk about them one by one. Before that, you can click on this grid display to activate the grid. It is sometimes useful in the Sketcher command. So now let's talk about these commands. We've already discussed about the line command, especially the line chain command. So I'll be skipping this one. Let's talk about the rectangle command. So the first one is, there are 4 options in it. So the first one is a corner rectangle. How do we construct a corner rectangle? Click on it, click anywhere on this grid plane, and after that just do not click anything on the mouse and hover the mouse over the space. So this is how you can basically define the area of the rectangle. So as and when I click the mouse button, the left mouse button, I can construct a rectangle, a corner rectangle. So after that, you need to come out and hover your mouse over a free space, and you need to click the middle mouse button twice. So as and when you do that, this is where you can see that you've constructed a corner rectangle. So now you can visualize that there are 4 constraints automatically placed on this corner rectangle. These are the horizontal constraints, one here, one here. These are the vertical constraints, one here, and you have 2 weak dimensions with you. So you can make these weak dimensions into strong dimensions by left clicking on them and going to this option. So let's say I intend to define this dimension to be 7 mm. And on this one, again, I can convert it into a strong dimension, and I would like to specify this dimension as 10 mm. As and when I do that, I have constrained the geometry, and you can see the shaded area is already in pink color, so it's a closed loop. So this is how you create a corner rectangle. So if you want to delete this geometry, all you need to do is you need to left click on the mouse button and drag it over the entire space of this geometry, and then just delete it from the keyboard. All right. So the second command in rectangle is a slanted rectangle. So you click on it, you hover your mouse over the grid planes, click somewhere, and after that, leave the mouse, don't click anything, and hover the mouse away from this point. So as and when you do that, let's say I want to click here, I want to define the rectangle over this position now. So you click over it, and this is how you can see I've created a rectangle. I need to define the height now. So in order to do that, I'll just click it like at this position. So I've already created the rectangle, and now I'll click the middle mouse button to end the rectangle command. And you can see as of now the rectangle command is activated, but once I click the middle mouse button, it will get deactivated as well. And the rectangle is created. It's a closed loop. That's why you can see the pink area in the rectangle. And now it is different from the corner rectangle because you can see you have 1 dimension here, 1 dimension here, and the 3rd dimension here. So there are 3 dimensions. In corner rectangle, you were getting 2 dimensions. Also, you can see that the constraints are different here. You have 5 constraints. You see that this line, this particular one, is parallel to this one. This particular line is parallel to this particular line, and you can see the parallel constraint already applied here. And you can see that you just need 1 perpendicular constraint on this line that automatically makes this line perpendicular to this line as well. So you have a different sort of although it's a rectangle, but the constraints and dimensions are altogether different. Now you can see that the dimension is going a little out of bounds and not inside, not in front of my sight. So in order to refit this geometry, there's this option at the top which you can click, which reads as refit. So it adjusts the zoom level to fully display the object on the screen. So once you click on it, so it refits it over your screen. So it's more useful. So now how can we constrain this geometry, and how can we basically get rid of these weak dimensions? So let's say I intend to specify this dimension as 5 mm. I intend to specify this dimension, let's say, as 10 mm. Now, as you can visualize, it's a rare chance that somebody would specify this sort of a dimension, but a high possibility that somebody would basically like to have the angle specified between the horizontal and this particular line. That's something more useful. So how can we specify the angle here? We don't have any particular line here from the horizontal which will allow us to dimension angle. So in these particular situations, you have the option of what you call as a centerline. If you hover your mouse right at the top, you can see there's this option, centerline, which is to create a 2-point construction centerline. So it's a construction line. It won't be a part of your geometry, but it will help you to specify the dimensions or to basically get rid of the weak dimensions. So you click on the centerline option. Now I would like to construct the centerline, though I can construct it anywhere, but I would construct it at this point. So I'll click on this point, and you can see I've not clicked anything on the mouse. I left the mouse like the click buttons, and I'm just hovering over the entire space. So you have the choice to specify the center line with a vertical constraint or with a horizontal constraint. As of now, in this particular situation, it's beneficial to apply the center line with a horizontal constraint. So you click on it, you click the middle mouse button, and you get the angle specified. So you basically specify the angle here. Let's say my intention was to specify this angle as 45 degrees. So you can see I can again click on the refit button, that now I have specified the entire geometry. It's a closed loop, so that's why it's pink in color, and I don't have any weak dimension. And that was the intention as well. So now let's move forward to the next command. So I can select everything by dragging over it and then click the delete button from the keyboard. So the third one is the center rectangle. So what we can do here is you can create a rectangle by selecting the center and dragging outwards. So you click on this option, the rectangle command is activated. You go to the SketchUp interface, click anywhere, and after that just hover your mouse. I'm not clicking anything on the mouse button after I've just clicked once, and you hover your mouse and you can see I can create a rectangle where I've already specified the center point. Let's say I would like to create this sort of a rectangle. Now once I do that, I need to click the middle mouse button. So again, the rectangle is created, and you can see you have, in this particular case, 2 weak dimensions and you have 6 constraints. So this is this horizontal constraint of this line, horizontal constraint for this particular line, vertical constraint for this line, a vertical constraint for this line, and these two are what you call as point on entity. But what point? Basically the point of center, which from where this rectangle was constructed. So this point should be on this particular line and on this particular line. So that's why it's right there in the middle. So in order to convert these weak dimensions to strong dimensions, I can click on this option and I can specify, let's assume my intention was to make this line of dimension 8 mm. Let's say my intention was to make the dimension of this line as 16 mm. So we can create a rectangle, a center rectangle with this particular scenario. So let's move to the next command. So I'll drag my mouse over the entire space and click press the delete button from the mouse, from the keyboard, sorry. Now the fourth option is to create a parallelogram. So you can create a rectangle by selecting the 2 vertices of the first side and dragging to create the parallel side. Parallelograms can be oriented at any angle. So let's see how we can make a parallelogram. So you click on it, the rectangle command is activated. You go to this SketchUp pane, and there in this space you can click at one point. You can leave the click on the mouse, hover your mouse over the space, and you can see that a line is being created. So let's say I click here, and after that I again leave the click option and I hover my mouse, and I can see that I have the option to construct a parallelogram now. So this will be the last click and the parallelogram will be created. So let's say I click at this point. So once I do that, now you can see that there are again Now there are 4 dimensions, as you can see. One is this dimension, second dimension, third dimension, and a fourth dimension. And along with that, we have 4 constraints. They're basically 2 only. So this is basically a parallel constraint. This line has to be parallel to this line, and this line has to be parallel to this line. So how do we get rid of these weak dimensions? So usually, if you try to construct a parallelogram, the obvious choice would be to specify this dimension. So let's say we specify this dimension as 8 mm. Let's say my intention was to specify this dimension as 4 mm. Let's say my intention was to specify this dimension as 90 degree. Now, how do we get rid of this dimension? Again, there's a high possibility that somebody would prefer selecting an angle here or specifying an angle here rather than this dimension. So we can specify the angle using the Centerline command. So you can click on the Centerline, which is just a construction line. And I would like to make the Centerline with a horizontal constraint. Sorry. And I can specify the angle. Let's say my intention was to specify this angle as 45 degree. So this is how you can make a fully constrained rectangle using the parallelogram command. So let's move to the next command now. So I can delete this entire structure by dragging the mouse over it and pressing the delete button from the keyboard. Now the next command is a circle. So I will create a circle using the center and point command. So you click on it, the circle command is activated. You can move over this free space, click over the center and drag it. So once you do that, you can see that a circle is being created and you need to specify the dia of the circle. So by hovering, you can see you're specifying the diameter. Let's say I click at this point. So you can specify the diameter and the circle would be constrained. Let's say my intention was to make the circle of 8 mm diameter as per the given design. Now let's move to the next command, which is a concentric circle. For that, we need to define a circle first. So let's define a circle. Let's say a circle of 10 mm diameter. Now we go to the concentric circle command. We need to click on the reference circle, and after that, you just need to hover the mouse without clicking anything. And as and when you're ready to define the diameter of the circle, just click on the circle. And then you have the option to define one more circle as well, but I won't be doing that. And I'll try to escape the circle command by clicking on the middle mouse button. So now you can see you've defined a circle. So in this case, you can see that the circle, let's say I would like to define the diameter as 7 mm, that the shaded portion is lying in between these 2 circles. So this is something very useful in order to make geometries that are hollow inside. That's something we'll see in the next sessions. But as of now, this is how you use the concentric circle command. Let's see another use of integrating a rectangle command with a circular command. How can we do that? Let's say we make a center rectangle, and then we can make a center circle here. So again, you can see that the shaded area is the one that is bounded by the rectangle and the outside portion of the circle. So this is something of great use when you will be using it in part modeling. So I just wanted to demonstrate it here, just a quick demonstration. So moving further, let's see what we have further in the circle command. So you have a 3-point circle. So how can we create a circle using 3 points? So you click once here, let's say you can click secondly here, and you can have the circle created. Now wherever you click the third time, the circle will be created at that position. So let's say I click here. So you have the circle ready with you. And this is a circle of, let's say, 10 mm diameter. So that's the use of 3-point circle. Next, what you have is a 3-tangent circle. Now, a circle that is tangent to 3 lines. So let's say we make a triangle here. I'll just making a rough sketch. And now let's move. I'm not specifying the dimensions here. I'm just trying to demonstrate the use of a 3-tangent circle. So I'm leaving the weak dimensions as it is, but we definitely need to get rid of them if we are doing actual modeling. But I'm just giving a demonstration. So ignore the weak dimensions. So let's click on the 3-tangent circle command. Now you need to specify the circle by clicking on 3 lines, and it will be tangent to them. So let's say I click on this line, then I click on this line. I've already got a circle. As and when I click on the third line where it will be tangent, a circle will be created. And as and when I escape the circle command by clicking on the middle mouse button, you can see a circle is created here. All right. So that's how you make use of the circle command. So what do we have next? We have the ellipse command. So there are 2 options. One is the x's ends ellipse. So we click on it. Let's say I click once here. I specify the second point here, and then I leave the click, and then I hover my mouse. You can specify the ellipse command. So you can specify the 2 dimensions of the ellipse. One is the major diameter and one is the minor diameter. Let's say I make this dimension as 6. I make this dimension as 2. And this is how you can get a fully constrained ellipse in this figure. So you can also couple the ellipse with the rectangle command, just like we did for the circle command. So you can have a plate with an ellipse in it. So another important use of rectangle and ellipse command used together. So this is something which we will demonstrate in practical situations while we do part modeling. So there's one last thing, that is the center and axis ellipse. So you need to specify the center, and then you need to specify the axis. It can be horizontal or it may not be horizontal. All right. Let's say I don't want it to be horizontal. I want it to be something inclined like this. And after that, you can specify it. So you again have 3 dimensions here. And let's say I want the minor diameter to be 4. I want the major diameter to be 8. And then you have the third dimension. Again, we can use the center line to specify an angle. Let's say I want to specify this angle as 45 degree to make it fully constrained. So that's how you can make use of the ellipse command. So these are some of the basic commands that you will be making use of heavily in the next sessions. And there are some commands that are left off now, as of now, like the spline command or the arc command, chamfer, fillet, and many others. I'll demonstrate the use of these particular commands with the help of practical examples, which I will be conducting in the further sessions. Till then, I would say keep on modeling, and that's it for now. And thank you.